Good afternoon, everyone. This is Corinne Joye Votaw, sports photographer. Today, I'm talking more about my OM1 MKII. I'm going to share with you the settings I use to shoot sports with this camera. Hopefully, as a starting point for you, and so you can understand more about the capabilities of this thing. Now, full disclaimer: I was introduced to the OM system through a photographer named Davey Wilson. He's out of Utah. Great photographer. I'll put a link to his stuff down below. Now, he was kind enough to send me some of his settings when he first introduced me to the camera. And in full disclosure and full disclaimer, I never actually opened them. Sorry, Davey. I find that experimentation is what I like doing to see what works and what doesn't work on my own. But it helps me understand the camera faster, better, and tailored more to my taste. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be walking you through the menus, showing you the settings I tend to use, and hopefully this is helpful to you. Away we go. So let's fire up the menu. All right. So then we'll scroll all the way back to the beginning. So as far as shooting, I always shoot in RAW. That's just kind of a default thing. Yep, that is its aspect ratio 4:3. I actually love the 4:3. Yeah, full disclaimer, I actually love the 4:3. Ooh, that's a weird looking video of me. Not a big fan. Let's go to this one. Hi, does that look better? Probably. I love the 4:3. I think so used to the 2:3 or the 3:2 on my Sony cameras that I think this provides a nice different perspective. Anyways, back into it. Picture mode. For picture mode, I use this default profile 3. Now, as far as I can tell, there isn't actually a way to turn off these picture modes. And so they recommend 3 as just kind of their natural setting. Okay, back into the menu. Picture mode settings. Yep, that's all that is. White balance auto. I'll leave the white balance set to auto for when I'm outside. It does good enough. Plus, I'm shooting in RAW, so I can color correct it later if I need to, but I usually don't. I will manually set the white balance if I'm in an arena that has pretty consistent lighting. I find a lot of times, though, I'm in arenas that have multiple colors of lighting. So like I'll shoot stuff for the NHL and always different colors showing as the primary light source. So sometimes I'll use auto white balance those too. But if I'm in like a soccer stadium where it's very consistent lighting color, I will white balance to those lights. Other space, ISOs, limits all set, flicker scan off, metering high, flash mode, don't really mess with that. Drive mode. Drive mode is really important. So I use the ProCap SH2. And the reason behind that versus the SH1, one ProCap is essentially pre-capture, right? So it's capturing a buffer of images before you actually click the trigger, which I think is an absolute essential thing in shooting sports. What the SH1 does is it takes the focus on the initial photo in the burst, and then it holds that focus for all the other photos. Now, when you're shooting sports, your subject's always moving, so you always want it refocusing. So that's where the ProCap SH2 comes in, because it's going to autofocus on every single image. So you got to make sure you're a ProCap SH2. All right, back in. When it comes to sequential shooting settings, you have the ability to change the frame rates. My ProCap SH2, thank you. I use that at 25 FPS with a buffer of 12 to start with, and then a max of 50 total images per burst. Moving on, anti-shock off, yep, silent off, that's fine. Image stabilizer, you have multiple stabilizer settings. This one's vertical, this one's horizontal. I use the IS1, which is all directions. I do keep the image stabilizer on. I find it just helps quite a bit. Same thing with the handheld assist. Moving on, computational photography is set to off as a rule. I think it has no place in sports. Prove me wrong. It's great for landscape stuff. It's great for building high-res images. It's great for all those things. And it truly rocks on the OM system. Like, this is a great feature set, just has no place in what I'm doing with sports. Back into it. Same thing with the live ND shooting, and fantastic. Absolutely love it. Digital teleconverters off, bracketing's fine. Autofocus mode. For me, it's always the continue autofocus plus tracking. Now, what's interesting is if you try to set this in SH1 or ProCap SH1, you don't have that option. So again, ProCap SH2, always continuous autofocus plus tracking. Make sure you're set on that. Okay. Don't use the manual focus at all in my situation. Release priority I will change sometimes based on just a couple factors, but I will turn this on sometimes because it's not going to complete the shot until it is in focus. Sometimes you want that, sometimes you don't. Depends on what you're shooting. So this one will go on and off sometimes based on basically how I feel that day. Coming back here to more settings, subject detection is off. This one confuses people sometimes because, like, wouldn't you want subject detection on? No, I want whatever I bracket out to be in focus, and I want that tracking to be in place. I don't need to mess around with other subjects coming in and out of frame and auto-detecting them and using resources for that. I want to lock onto my person, and I want to stay with my person. Same thing, continue autofocus setting, all, yep, the entire screen was available. And then eye detection frame, I leave that on. Same thing with the AF illuminator. Now, the AF area pointer, there's actually two different options here. I tend to use on one. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So basically, if I lock in on something, that frame's going to lock. That's the on one setting right there. And it'll jump sometimes. But overall, it holds on. Okay. Now, if I go back and I change that to on two, this is where you're going to start to see those green dots indicating what's in focus. It's a preference thing. For me, I like seeing the frame locking in and holding in on that. All right, back to the menu. Actually, you can change that back to on one because I like it. On one more. Back to the menu. AF sensitivity, I have set on 2. I want that tracking and holding tight on the person. I wish it would show you the quick menu, but apparently my system doesn't capture the quick menu. We'll have to figure out more about that later. Continue autofocus. Oh, that's a movie setting. Skipping past that. Good. Target mode settings. So I created a custom 1 setting. So single is too small for me sometimes. Mid is too large for me sometimes. So I created a custom autofocus target mode. Welcome to copy that. Please do. I think it's great for field sports and catching people at a distance and centering in enough. Orientation link setting, manual focus settings, video, all that video stuff. Video settings, button settings, card formatting. Yeah, those are generally my settings. Now, as far as things like speed and along those lines, I am, let's click in on there. Let's go here. Minimum 1/1000. Now, because this is a micro four thirds sensor, it is not capturing as much light as, say, a full frame sensor. So it does result in higher ISOs than a full frame sensor to capture the image. Go ahead, fight with me about that. This is a situation. You need higher ISOs on a micro four thirds camera than you do on a full frame camera to achieve the same level of exposure. Can't believe how many arguments I've been having about this lately. Anyways, you do. As you're seeing in the video, like just tossing around, hey, you get a nice tour of my desk. Sorry about that. Beautiful sunset in the distance. So back to me. Those are my settings. I hope this is useful to you. I hope you find this beneficial. Corinne Joye Votaw, sports photographer. We'll see you on the pitch.